Hello, I'm Wendy Griffith. I'm from the Embry-Riddle Counseling Center. A very common concern that we hear quite frequently from students is that they either have trouble sleeping, they have trouble staying asleep, or they're not getting enough sleep. So I thought I'd talk to you about sleep. And I think a really good place to start is just with the basics. So what is sleep? Sleep is an altered state of consciousness where we have a relatively limited interaction with our environment and we are still in quiet. There are two different types of sleep, REM sleep and non-REM sleep, and we actually cycle through these two stages of sleep throughout the night. REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement, and during REM sleep we are dreaming and we are working on actually memory consolidation. We are processing the leftover bits and pieces of the day and putting them together. Non-REM sleep is a dreamless state of sleep, and during this time body functions slow down and reparative and restorative functions occur throughout the body. So why is sleep important? Sleep plays a very important role in brain function by allowing us to develop new neural pathways and processing information. Adequate sleep improves attention, memory, learning, creativity, and it aids us in decision making. Adequate sleep keeps us healthy. It allows our immune system to fight infection effectively, and actually sleep triggers different hormones that regulate mood, energy level, and mental acuity. So, where should you sleep? You should sleep in a bed, not on the floor, not on the couch, not in a chair. And hopefully that bed is very comfortable and you have a comfortable pillow and you have linens that feel good against your skin. Ideally, the room temperature should be right around 65 degrees. When our core body temperature drops, it sends a signal to our brain that it's time to go to sleep. And there is a natural shift of our core body temperature that occurs every 24 hours, and that's what we know as the circadian rhythm. Our room should also be dark. Whenever the brain has any type of light that it sees, it recognizes that light as the sun, and it says, oh, the sun is up, it's time for me to be awake, even when that light is artificial. The brain doesn't recognize the difference between naturally occurring sunlight and artificial light. And the last W, when should we sleep? We really do need to maintain a consistent sleep schedule. We should go to bed at the exact same time every evening, and we should get up the exact same time in the morning, even on the weekends, as difficult as that can be. When we maintain a consistent sleep schedule, it really helps us to achieve getting that restorative sleep, a type of sleep that when we wake up in the morning, we feel refreshed and energetic and ready to meet the day ahead of us. Also, how much sleep should each of us get? You know, adults do vary in the needs they have, but overall the recommendation is for an adult to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Our homeostatic sleep drive is very similar to hunger. Typically, the longer we go without eating, the hungrier we get. The same is true for sleep. The longer we go without sleep, the greater our need for sleep is. And if we nap, what we are actually doing is borrowing from our nighttime sleep. There's also something that most of us are aware of. It is that internal clock that we have. For most people, around 9, 10, 11 p.m., They have that feeling of being tired and that desire to go to bed. And paying attention to that is helpful because it actually helps to initiate sleep. There is a phenomenon, again, that many of us are familiar with called the second wind. And most of us have experienced this when we stay up watching or binging TV and we get to bed a little later than we usually do. And we get into bed and suddenly we have that burst of energy and we are wide awake. So with all of that said, what are some things that we can do to improve sleep? You know, many of us stay very busy right until that last minute before we go to bed. And we get into bed and we still have 1,000,001 things going on in our head. So a very simple thing that we can do is begin some type of a bedtime ritual. You know, if you spend any time around little ones, done any babysitting, you probably know that typically we have some type of a nighttime ritual with toddlers to help them transition from the busyness of the day to the quiet at night. You know, oftentimes they can have a little snack, then it's tubby time, and then we put them to bed, read them a book or two, and rub their back. And again, it's transitioning from the busyness of the day to the quiet of the night. Well, adults are very much like that as well. And so one of the things that you can do about 30 minutes or so before you go to bed is start preparing yourself to go to bed. You know, turn some lights off, make it a little darker in your environment, turn off all of your electronics, and then maybe you want to fix a very small snack for yourself, maybe just a piece of toast with a little bit of peanut butter on it, some nuts, something very small. Tea can also help promote sleep, and this is due to some of the chemical properties in tea, and as well as incorporating it into that ritual, sending that message to the brain that you're getting ready for the quietness of the evening. Some teas that have those more sedative effects are passion flower, chamomile, lavender, and lemon balm. There are several others, and typically they're marked on the box. We can find lots of them in any grocery store at all. Another thing that you can do to help with the transition to bedtime is spending maybe just a few minutes getting things ready. You know, if you need to put some things in your backpack, if you want to get out the clothes you're going to wear, maybe do a little prep for your breakfast in the morning. But, you know, one of the things that oftentimes happens is we go to bed in a great big hurry and we get to bed, and then in our head we're going through all those details of the next day that we need to remember. So either getting some of those details done before we go to bed, or getting up and making a list of those things that we need to do before we leave for our school day the next morning can be very helpful. You know, one of the reasons we go over things in our head is so that we won't forget. We're doing it as a reminder to ourselves. So if we write those things down, we don't need to remember them. They're there on that piece of paper for us when we get up in the morning. Another thing too, just maybe writing for about 10 to 15 minutes before you go to bed. Again, it's a great way to assimilate some of the busyness of the day, putting bits and pieces of the day together, maybe doing a gratitude journal, just writing 3-4 things that you're grateful for that day can be very helpful to, again, prepare yourself for the quietness of the evening. For some people, wearing socks to bed can really make a big difference. And what wearing socks to bed does, it actually creates what they call vasodilation, which is dilation of the blood vessels in the feet. And so our feet get warmer. And again, this is a signal to the brain that it's time to go to sleep. Listening to soothing, quieting music can also be helpful. And there are several different music apps that are readily available that you can find very easily. Some people find that taking either a warm bath or a hot shower also helps to relax them before they go to bed. However, you want to experiment with that, because for some people, taking a shower or bath actually wakes them up. It invigorates them. So be careful with that one. Also, one of the things that you can do is do some fake yawning. I think many of us have heard about how if we're in a bad mood, if we smile, you know, the muscles that are moved send that message to the brain that, oh, I'm smiling, so I must be in a good mood. The same thing works for yawning. If we fake yawn, we are using those muscles that we typically use to yawn, so it's sending that message to the brain that we're tired, we're ready to go to bed. You can also experiment with the power of language. Studies show that 5 minutes exposure to a list of words like cozy, cuddle, comfy, serene, sleepy, peaceful can help you fall asleep 45% faster. So take a couple of Post-it notes and write a list of those types of words and put one maybe in your bathroom so you can be looking at it and thinking about it as you get ready for bed. Put one beside your bed so that you can look at it just for a few minutes before you go to bed. But again, language has a big impact on us. So those are some different things that you can try to do to set yourself up for a good night's sleep. So what happens if you are struggling with insomnia? You know, insomnia is that inability to fall asleep. And there are actually 3 different types of insomnia. There's early onset, middle onset, and late onset insomnia. Early onset insomnia is that type of insomnia. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night, you're tired, you feel like you can fall asleep, you go to bed, put your head on your pillow, and you are wide awake, and the thoughts start going, and you just toss and turn and toss and turn. And then around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you can fall asleep. Middle onset insomnia is that type of insomnia. You can go to bed, you can fall asleep quickly, stay asleep, but then 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you are waking up. And again, the exact same thing. There's busyness in your head, and you're tossing and turning and tossing and turning. You can't fall back asleep until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Late onset insomnia is that type of insomnia where you can go to bed, fall asleep right away, you stay asleep, but then in those really early morning hours, you wake up and you can't fall back asleep. That typically happens around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and about the time you actually could fall back asleep is the time you need to be getting up for the day. In my opinion, late onset insomnia is the worst type of insomnia. I hate it when you're awake and your alarm goes off. But anyway, so a couple of different things. If you are experiencing any form of insomnia, do not stay in bed and toss and turn and toss and turn. Your brain very quickly learns to associate that your bed is the place that you come to toss and turn and toss and turn. So get up and engage in some very quiet activity. Don't turn on a lot of lights. Don't turn on all your electronics, checking your social media. Those things are going to wake you up even more. So just again, engage in some very quiet, maybe boring activity. Sometimes just sitting and rocking in a chair, if you have a rocking chair, or just that act of rocking in a chair can help soothe you. Do that for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes until you start feeling sleepy, and then go back to bed, try to fall asleep. If you can't fall asleep, again, get up out of bed. Okay, so those are just a few things. A lot of people find that reading really helps promote sleep. Just make sure you don't start reading some psychological thriller or something that gets you on the edge of your seat. Sometimes too, just going outside and looking up at the sky, looking at the vastness of the sky, looking at all the stars can just be very soothing and quieting and help promote better sleep. So we also have a list of natural sleep aids that you can check out that's on our website, but I hope that you have found something here helpful and that you will get a better night's sleep. Thank you.